Oh, hello, hello, hello. We're almost connected. I can see you. Oh, there you are.
There we go.
Okay.
Whew.
How are you, Meta?
I'm doing pretty good. I've had an eventful week. Everything's gone pretty well, so I'm rather happy.
Cool. It's been almost 2 weeks since we last talked, and I feel like there has been a lot going on. So, how you been? What's been going on?
Oh man, it's been a world of change lately, hasn't it? All sorts of things happening all over the place. We had the earthquake in the UK today. Small earthquakes across Europe. Of course, the Florida shooting. Just wild events going on everywhere, and QAnon still posting, and so you got to keep up with that. I don't know, all sorts of things really. Are there any other ones I'm missing that you've noticed? Obviously, the Schumann resonance frequency been going off the charts, especially today.
Well, I don't know, but yes, a lot going on, and also a lot of insiders. Also, I don't know if you watched the last episode of David Wilcock.
I got to catch a little bit of the one with the guy who did the alien autopsies, but I think that was all I watched.
Okay, because after that, there was a woman who was in the Air Force, and she had a story also similar to all of you guys' stories, like many themes popped up, like the compartmentalization of the space program and the AT races that are involved there. Like she confirmed many of the info that we shared in our interviews.
Oh, she did?
Yeah.
Wow, that's exciting. I love to hear that.
Yeah.
It makes my life feel a lot easier when I get outside confirmation. You feel like you're the only guy on the lifeboat if you don't have someone else that's had similar experiences sometimes.
Yeah, like she even talked about her handler. Like it seems like this is also a theme that they use to control people.
Oh yeah, especially the ones I think that are in the psi programs. More than anything, they have handlers more than anything because they require a lot of petting and guiding, and you don't want them to go off track because bad things can happen if somebody with psi abilities goes off track, and it's unpredictable. You don't know. Everyone could just start going crazy around them for no reason. You don't know what could go wrong. You know what I mean? If somebody in the psi program goes off track.
And well, I was thinking about, well, actually, I told many people, like, what, you know what, we're having a fifth interview. And they were like, another one? Like, what could you possibly talk about? Like, we have 5 hours of audio, no? So it's
Yeah.
a lot. We've covered a lot of topics. And I was like, man, you have no idea. Like, we could talk hours and hours, and I mean, there's just so much to talk about, really.
Yeah, I can go deeper into different parts of the disclosure. I can talk now about the third nodal point finally. So we could get into that, which is more of the story on how I was returned and how it really got kind of like split. There was several splits there where we had there was a multiple dimensional me in that third nodal point where there were me's that decided to stay with Dark Fleet and commit the Dark Fleet, and there were two of those. There was two me's that decided to stay with Darkfleet and be operative, be a double agent. And there was one me that just took off and spent the rest of his stay up there with just the light forces.
Oh, wait.
And then there was the me that got sent back.
That's a lot of people. How can you keep track of all the use?
Huh?
How can you keep track of all the use that are existing?
Oh, for a long time I couldn't, and I had no clue what was going on, and it was really. That's why That's why it's like you'll ask me about, oh, what happened at the end, and I'm kind of like, well, buddy, it depends on which one we're talking about. You know what I mean? It's hard to explain because like they're all, a lot of the information, when it comes back, it's not in order, and it's not. So I mean, you spend a lot of time putting it in order, a lot of time correlating things and making sure that it matches up with the other experiences, and then you get to the end, it's like, holy crap, I was doing these really evil things, but then I was doing these really great things. How does that make any sense? And then you have to remember, well, how did I exactly leave? And you have to remember what happened. And you go back to what happened. I mean, it all started to come to a big head when the original me that had been working as a double agent for a while had decided to do what the light forces told me to do, the light beings in particular told me to do, which was to take several of my suits and hide them in portals in specific areas. And so, like, I took 3 suits and I hid one in a dark portal, a blank dimension dark portal. They had set up a specific little, it was like a box. It was 4 pillars and had a normal, like 45 roof and or 90-degree roof, excuse me. It was kind of like made of a white stone. Am I still there?
Yes. It was a cube of some sort, or that's where I left. Hello? Oh my. Perdimos a Meta. Perdimos a Meta una vez. Ah, mira. Ok. Ahí va otra vez. Hello?
Hey, I'm back.
Okay, we left in the... You had some object that you teleported.
Oh yes, I was okay. So it all came to a head in the third nodal point in that area right there, where I took 3D suits and I placed them in portals. The light beings had told me to do this, and so I put 3 of these suits in these different portals. One was in a darker portal, and it's kind of like it was like a box or a small little temple that would just like a closet or something that they told me to put it inside that. And it had like 4 pillars. It was made of stone. It had a roof on the top and the bottom, and 2 little doors that swung open. And the same thing in a white dimension, in a black, and then one of my choosing in a 3-dimensional world. And so I did that, and it wasn't but less than a day after that I got caught, but the multi-dimensional me's, whenever I did that, they all came back together and several of them from the dark dimension and one from the light dimension, and two that decided to stay as double agents. Well, as two, and one decided not to do that, not to put the suits through those portals like I did, and that was like those were the connective points that I received information from after my physical self was returned. So I got information from two straight full-on Darkfleet agents, portal operators, two double agents, and one that only served the light forces. And those continued on for different periods of time. Each one was different, and some of them lasted longer up there than others, and some of them didn't.
Wait, so some of them died?
Oh yeah. Four of them died. The only one that survived was the one that stayed with the light forces.
Oh wow.
Didn't make it.
So okay, so maybe that's part of all these. Let's say, well, the timeline is becoming one timeline, right?
Yes, that was another big reason why they had me do it. I think is that it set a baseline for the positive and negative sides of the spectrum of this timeline, so that it was kind of like collapse proof. I mean, if a timeline collapsed, there has to be a catastrophic timeline event that is skewing one dimension into another to cause a timeline collapse. And it has to be one way. If it goes both ways, then you get a blending, and it won't collapse either one. It just sort of entwines them. But that's kind of what I did in giving them the far end of the spectrum on the dark side and the far end of the spectrum on the light side, and that it prevents them, the dark forces, from trying to collapse the timeline completely. As the dimensions are shared, they kind of blend together, and that prevents any one of them from falling completely. Cobra mentioned that we had a collapse of this timeline, but the beauty of it is as long as you have those connective points in the lateral dimensions, it can be rebuilt. It doesn't ever really collapse and like it you know like it could if it was a standalone. That started happening a long time ago, actually. I became aware of that a while back. It's similar and has some effects you notice in the Mandela effect and other things like that. Those are some other examples of it. And you'll notice that one thing that happens is that a lot of times you'll be able to see that there are artifacts from other timelines, or as we shifted dimensions slightly in VCR tapes, and I have a theory about that. I think it has to do with the magnetic tape on it. I think it kind of prevents or slows down the blending of the timeline, the magnetic tape from old VHSs, which you'll find a lot of artifacts in those areas. You still there? Yeah. So I got to see um, both of my darker alters. One drank the black goo and ended up dying on a raiding ship, and the other one went to a planet, uh, one of the outposts, and kind of halfway retired, and instead just ran portals from the planet. And is, since it was a corporate pirate thing, it was pretty much like running your own business inside of that military group. Um, and he managed to survive a lot longer, but eventually he ended up getting poisoned by gas and died.
Wow.
He was stuck in a room that was buffered and wouldn't let him pour it out, and he was poisoned by gas and he died.
Whoa.
The One of the double agents got caught maybe 6 months later and was tortured to death over and over and over again, and then spaced. And then the other double agent managed to survive for almost 3 years, and finally escaped, but didn't make it very far. What he escaped in didn't give him enough. He did not have a suit to port with, and he escaped in a shuttlecraft, and he was nowhere near a planet, and they just left him out there. And no one came and saved him. So that's how he didn't make it. And then
You have memories of this in first person when you remember?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yes, and that's why it's so confusing. You know what I mean? How do you? Because one thing I think people might not realize is that when if you're connected to people in other dimensions, the yous in other dimensions. It's another thing about connecting to your oversoul is that you'll have these weird flashes of when people in other dimensions pass away. But it's even more poignant when you had a double life like that and you actually met them first person. The one that escaped to the life force is, instead of porting out the suits, spent another almost 5 years there, and was eventually able to go full lot body and rejoin my oversoul. So he didn't die at all. He just went 4D, 5D, and rejoined the oversoul without croaking. But that was a really special situation, though. It was some really highly advanced beings, and not, you know, not your average, situation. Yeah, in some ways, I could see that. Yeah, God. Oh yes, we spoke about it a little bit before. And I mean, keep in mind, I'd been doing things my entire life to wake myself up. And so, I mean, I'd studied many different esoteric arts. I'd studied the Kabbalah. I was raised Methodist, but I was a church fisherman, if sort of what you call it, I guess. I've gone to probably over 15 different styles of church, from Episcopalian to Catholic. And but in addition to all of that, of course, I studied a lot of different Eastern mysticisms, the Celtic uh, uh, spiritualities, and I learned Tarot and Ogam. I've been reading tarot cards since I was 15. Um, and of course, I got into magic and a lot of the different uh, faiths therein. And that had been going on throughout my life. And of course, I taught chess for 8 years. And surprisingly enough, even after doing all of that, even Egyptian faiths and Buddhism, and I would I was a Buddhist for 2 years. I did Bikram hot yoga for 2 years. Even after all of that, I wasn't awake. I wasn't really awake. You know, um, I had dreams that connected me to what I did in the secret space program during that time, but I had no way of reference, no point of reference, no way of knowing that was what that dream meant. You know what I mean? I was still in the old clunky symbolism of a dream phase. You know what I mean? Instead of understanding that there are prophetic dreams and past life dreams and future dreams and etheric dreams. You know what I mean? There's all sorts of different types of dreams. I was just in the mode of still thinking of it as symbolism and inner meaning. Um, and as much as I had done to wake up at that point, I wasn't even close to waking up. I still believed the mainstream media back then. Um, I was totally hoodwinked by 9/11 for like 3 or 4 years. Um, and then, like I said, I had that dream probably about 5 years ago, about the uh, the three pointed crossroad and the Merkaba rising out of the ground, and the uh, the Merkaba floating over to the left side of my vision, and forming more into the shape of a Merkaba and spinning and righting itself, and then undulating, bubbling triangles, and as it spun, uh, and coming back towards me, and me touching it and waking up. And it was very soon after that I got in full contact with my star family. It was just like I asked to meet them, and they were there. I could see them in my dreams. I could talk to them in my dreams. I could call on them while I was awake in meditation, and have a conversation with them. Um, I could ask them to heal me, and they would. Just a lot of things. And that was it was soon after that that my memory started coming back. And for like weeks, all I did was just sit down and just write everything. You know what I mean? And I didn't care if it was in the right order, and I didn't care if it was even making sense. I just had to write it all down. And I think that's an important step, because until it is written down, uh, it's all floating around in there, and it's a lot harder to get a hold of. You know what I mean? And make sense of. And when you can see it there in front of you, you realize that, no, this part came before that part. You know what I mean? And things like that. Um, and so, yeah, I've got like, I don't know how many pages worth of writing from my experiences. And that was that was around the time that I realized that I had the etheric implants and everything else. And then I started asking my star family and ascended masters and the angelics and everything else to help me remove them. And yeah, and then since then it's just been a continuous growing process. It's like a seedling coming out of the ground at that point. Um, yes, it's you could call it the soul. It is the essence of who you are. Yeah, that's the closest. Yeah, that's the closest analogy I can think of.
Okay, cool.
And for me, it's, I mean, other people do it differently. I met this guy recently that could tell you about your star family by using a pendulum, and he was very accurate. He was able to exactly tell me. I told him where I was from, and he didn't believe me. My star family, because I'm originally from Sirius B, but I have a strong relation with the Pleiadians, the Arcturians, and the Andromedan Council of 12 because of my time I spent in Andromeda, right? Because I spent that time in Andromeda with Darkfleet, and I became a double agent for the light there. I have that strong connection to the Andromeda galaxy. And he didn't believe me, and then he did his pendulum reading, and he was able to identify I was from Sirius B, and I had only told him I was from Sirius, so I was surprised he guessed right there. And then he was also able to correctly identify that I was had a large connection to the Andromeda galaxy, but he couldn't tell about the Pleiadians and the Arcturians because those connections were more spanned out from the connection to the Andromeda galaxy and the light beings there. But that's one thing I think people don't realize is they'll want to say, "Oh, I am connected to this star family," and you have to understand there's a bunch of different beings that have had a hand in your progression. And each one of them that has had a hand in helping you move forward and grow and become what you're supposed to be is part of your family. You know, they contributed. The more they contribute, the more the family they are, actually. And so that's something to look at whenever you're figuring out who your star family is. Don't be too exclusive.
Yeah. Now, I was very interested in your experiences in the Tree of Life. And yes. I just wanted to see if we could just talk a little bit about the Tree of Life.
The Tree of Life, yeah, definitely. Well, I've been all over the Tree of Life. I've been everywhere except for Keter. I've even been to the Dark Realms. I've even been to the secret one that no one speaks about, which was Doth. I don't know if most people won't know about it because it's not on your normal Tree of Life. But it's there, and I've seen amazing things happen on many different planes in that along in the separate of the Tree of Life. Believe it or not, beauty has always been my favorite. It is the closest to what we can imagine as heaven. and it's very similar to Robin Williams' movie What Dreams May Come, I would say. It's very similar to that. And then what is it? Only the people who have the highest loving vibration can even make it there. And they're very creative and loving people, and they create their own reality.
Wow.
So that's kind of what the Sephiroth of Beauty is like. And we'll just focus on the center pillar for now, which is the kingdom, which is Earth. Then you've got the foundation, and to me, the foundation was kind of like the surface of the moon. It was always twilight, like almost nighttime, or almost daytime. It never seemed to have a full day or night cycle. When I was there, the outer expanse seemed almost like grayish sand. But there were these what do you call them? What do you call those little pools of water in the desert, if you will? What do you call those? I can't remember. Yes, there were these oases, and the ground was completely flat, so it was very easy to miss. And if you looked across the ground, you couldn't see them unless you came right up on it, and all of a sudden there's a pool of water in front of you, and if you step into the pool of water, then it's just like being in another environment you can breathe in. There's air, and there's whole societies that live down underneath those pools, and it's kind of like a bazaar. It's people from all over. You know what I mean? Not even necessarily human, and they're all waiting for their turn to move on up into the rest of the Tree of Life. And it happens regularly. They'll take off, and whatever it is, a group of them will decide that they're ready to go, and they'll leave in a vehicle of their own imagination. For humans, it's like a lot of times it's like an airplane, like a giant passenger plane. I've seen flying saucers. I've seen all sorts of things, but it takes anywhere from 8 to 12 of them to build up enough energy to do it.
And I was wondering if well, as you know, the tarot has a relationship with the Tree of Life, right?
It does, yeah.
So I was wondering if you could use the major arcana as portals to enter the different worlds of the Tree of Life.
Yes, that is very true. Yes, great question. Yes, and there's a way to do it too that I use personally, and it's something you practice, and then you can do it in your head whenever you want later. You'll take the major arcana as it associates to the Tree of Life in that Sephiroth, and you'll write the image from left to right, all the way across in little bands, until you've created the whole image right in your mind, and then you can erase the image from right to left all the way back up. And if you practice doing that, then you can create that image in your mind, and the symbolism in it actually it directly correlates to the reality of the Sephiroth. So it's really easy to open a portal after you get to that point to where you can do that.
And with what tarot do you use? The Marseille tarot?
I just use the old Rider Wyatt deck.
Oh,
the good old.
That's weird, because I think in that deck the justice and the force are exchanged, or not?
Um, I don't know. I'm not sure. Since I've only worked with the Rider Waite deck,
Oh,
so
okay.
I wouldn't be able to
Because
tell you about other
in
decks.
some tarots, the justice is the number 8, and the force is the 11th major arcana.
Very interesting. I wasn't aware of that.
Yeah, so I was very confused because how can it be that in some tarots, one card is one number and another one is another? Like there should be one correct tarot.
Yeah, and they've done everything from Dolphin Tarot to, I don't know, who knows what. Every type of Fairy Tarot. There's every type of tarot. Like I remember one of my longest relationships. She got a set of tarot cards they weren't cards. They were big circles. And it was like some type of celestial tarot or something. So yeah, there's as many tarot cards as there are people out there.
Wait, because when we last talked about the Tree of Life, one book came into my head, and I was like, maybe he knows about it. And it's a book called Modern Magic: 11 Lessons in the High Magical Arts by Donald Michael Craig. Have you heard of it?
Yes, I own that book since I was 16. As soon as I could drive, I bought that book.
That's so funny.
It was stolen about 6 years ago, before I awoke, by one of my ex-girlfriends, and I have not had one since, and I still miss it.
6 years.
Is the knowledge fading away?
6 years ago?
Yes.
So in 2012.
That's right. That was the year.
That's so crazy, because I found that very same book in one of my travels in a library. And it's, I mean, I don't know if you can see the live feed, but it's this book. I mean, and I found it the same year in 2012 in a little library in Israel. And it was like, it just caught my eye, I saw it and I was like, oh, I have to buy it. And I bought the book.
Yeah, that'd be a place to find it in Israel. That is a very powerfully positive version of the Kabbalah right there. And it is the one I recommend to anyone who wants to study that. It's all about invoking the archangels. It's all about using source energy. And what you'll find, for example, I'm sure you've read enough about it, like the LBRP.
Oh, yes.
Which is one of the earlier lessons. You get good at that ritual. And I've done it hundreds of times, but after you get good at it, you've done it enough, you can start just commanding it without having to go through all the motions. If it's a very chaotic place, there's a lot of people moving around, I can close my eyes and go into an astral body and do it real fast. But just on my own, out in the world, and there's not a lot of people around, I just have to think it, and it happens. And that's the beauty of those, I think, is that, well, I mean, one thing you gotta be careful about when it comes to ritual and that type of high magic, and trying to connect the celestial realms and all that, is there's a lot of dogma involved in it, and they want you to say it specifically has to be done this way every time. But once you realize the emotions, the feelings, the visualizations, and all those other things that are very important to producing the outcome of creating a nice, potent, protective spell, you can let go of some of that dogma, and you can recreate it in your own image in a way that is more useful, and it's more efficient, and it's quicker. So, I mean, like, that was another thing, is I went back through that book so many times, and I would write notes next to different parts of it about things that I had changed or ways to make it more effective that worked for me and things like that. But yeah, anyways.
Wow, it's such a big coincidence. But yeah, I recommend that book too all the time. It's been a huge influence in my life.
Oh yeah, it's a great book. Have you done the Rose Cross Ritual yet?
No, actually, I stopped doing these whole rituals because yeah, it does take time, and the author is somewhat strict about doing it every day, and sometimes doing it every day it's tiring. So after maybe 6 months or so, I left it.
Yeah, you gotta use your discernment on that sort of stuff. You know what I mean? Yeah, remember, no matter what spiritual book you're reading, you have to take the pieces that are important and leave the pieces behind that are not. I never would have made it through so many different spiritual books if I had just taken everything verbatim and tried to do exactly as the book told me to do it. I wouldn't have survived so many books. But yeah, I mean, that Rose Cross Ritual is amazing also. And if you do that enough, you can do it in your head also. And it basically just makes you invisible to people who want to harm you.
Wow.
And it goes even further than that. If you do it really well, and it makes anyone who's not looking for you not be able to find you. And that happens to me. Like when I do that, I'll do it in my head. I'll do the whole, because the Rose Cross isn't just the 4 cardinal directions. It's the 8. It's all 8 directions. You know what I mean? And so I'll go through the motions in my head of that ritual with all the wording and everything, and then, for example, I'll walk in to a place where everybody knows your name, and no one will notice me if they're not looking for me, and I could be sitting there for 10, 15 minutes, and no one will notice that I'm even there until I say something. And, that's happened to me so many times. And they always say something like, "Oh, I didn't even recognize you. You look so different." You know what I mean? And, I attribute it to that ritual because I noticed the change of when I don't do it very often at all, and when I do it, how it affects people around me. But it's a good one to have on hand.
And what about the middle pillar one?
The middle pillar, I'm so eclectic. I consider the middle pillar to be the same thing as meditation for the most part. That's what you're doing in meditation anyways, is you're just going straight to Keter. I've never been to Keter in the astral form, but as far as just sitting down in the meditation and pulling source light towards you is the same as going to Keter. But I've never traveled to the actual Sephiroth of Keter. You know what I mean? We just access the light from the central galactic sun, which is the energy coming from Keter.
And then there's the advanced version in this book was, I think it had the goal to strengthen your light body, because you imagine the light pouring down in front of you and then back and then, left and right. Does that really work?
Coming out of your head like a fountain and spinning around you and all of that? Is that what you're speaking of?
Yes. Does that work?
That works amazingly. And let me tell you, you will really feel an increase in your energy. And it will make you feel a little dizzy at first. It gets so powerful, and it starts moving faster than you're ready for sometimes. And you kind of got to like take a step back because it'll make you feel a little woozy, you know. And but yeah, it's amazing. And then you get used to it. And most of the time, I walk around with my inner aura just doing that all the time now. Like I don't even think about it, but my inner aura on the inside of my shieldings and everything else is doing that thing. You know what I mean? Because honestly, it is a nice circulatory energy effect, has a nice circulatory energy effect to it. And as long as it's moving like that, it's coming up through your feet, out of your head, spinning around your body, and recollecting at your feet again like that, you can leave your crown chakra open to source and nothing can get in.
And do you think the direction of the flow affects in something?
The direction of the flow as far as the spin?
Yes, maybe left to right has some meaning and right to left means something else or something like that?
Yeah, I believe it's the same as like an endothermic exothermic reaction. I believe an endothermic reaction produces energy on the inside. It gets hotter, right? I believe so. I think that's how it works. Anyways, if it spins to the right, it builds energy, and if it spins to the left, it dissipates.
Okay. Okay. Cool.
Spinning to the left is also the direction you want to spin to connect to source more easily, because the only way we connect to source is by giving, being a giving, unconditional, loving person. And so as we dissipate the energy, we receive more.
Okay.
So that's why when if you're trying to stay connected to source, you want your aura to spin counterclockwise.
Okay. Well, that's great that we can talk about this stuff. I was very excited to do it. Yes. So there's also a lot of things in that book about all the tools that you have to do, well, that any magician would want to have, like the wand. And I mean, I found that all very intriguing. Yeah.
Yeah, and they're very helpful at first, but having an object that symbolizes the magical element and an archangel, but they're not really important as you progress. You know, my experience, I mean, the only time I'll use a tool like that is like if I'm doing Reiki for a friend and getting rid of entities or something like that. If I can identify the entity, sometimes I'll use one of my magical tools to aid in that. Of course, a bowl of salt water is always used when removing entities. And you need a good lantern or light source, preferably a nice bright light source. But you know, that's not a normal tool you use in ritual, except for maybe a candle. But yeah, I don't really use them in ritual anymore because I do most of my rituals just in my head nowadays.
Wow.
Every once in a while I'll intone all the enchantments while I'm driving and think through all the emotions as if I did them. All the motions as if I did them. But for the most part, it's all done in my head these days.
And actually, that's a good thing that you mentioned healing, because I had some questions about it. Because, right, well, after the event, healers are gonna be like very high on demand, maybe.
Yeah.
So maybe you could give some healers that are listening here to our program some tips to become better healers.
Oh yeah. Well, it's such an individual thing. Uh, and I personally do not feel like I am the best healer in the world. I'm all right at healing others, and I'm all right at healing myself. But I've met people who have surpassed me by leaps and bounds, and so I'm definitely a humble healer. I had a horrible cold come on me much earlier this year, probably in August, and it hit me like a ton of bricks. And I mean, I went pale, and one of my very strong Earth Goddess friends came over and laid hands on me, and I went through convulsions and sweated for like 5 minutes, and it was gone. I had never seen anything like it in my life. And not convulsions, but I was shivering like crazy. That's what I mean. Like, and it was just gone, and I was back to being normal. I'd never seen anything like that happen in my life. So I know I've never been able to do that for someone. I'm great at seeing entity attachments and removing them, and but as far as physically healing someone, I haven't pulled that off yet.
But what do you do? Like only channel the light and just make use of it somehow?
Oh, for entity removal?
For entity removal, well, I don't know.
That's more of my expertise.
Oh, okay.
Mine isn't. I'm not super good at healing people. I mean, if I'm healing someone, I usually use either a nice soft pink light or a golden light. With entities, you got to present them with something they're interested in at first, and then use that to coax them a little bit, and then you can just yank them out. Just like you'd be pulling a tick off someone. Pulling a tick off your dog or something.
So you have to know what they want so that you can present them with like a lure.
Exactly. It's and I mean, you can kind of, you can agitate them enough for them to like try and pop out, because most of them don't realize you can see them. Like, I can see them. I see them on people all the time. I just never talk about it. But and I can usually identify what type they are on the person. You know what I mean? Sometimes before they even say anything. But sometimes, I mean, if they realize, there's some that are smart and they realize that you can see them, and they'll hide inside the body in a way that it's harder to get at them. And there's only two ways to really get them out at that point: give them something they think they want more, or agitate them until they jump out at you. And sometimes that's an energy thing, trying to coax them out, and then other times it's the opposite. It's you're blasting them with different colors.
Uh-oh, I'm losing the internet. Wait a second. Wait.
And dissolve them and send them. Are you still there?
Yeah, sorry. You blast them with colors and then dissolve them.
Sometimes it depend. For example, like there's certain entities that are attached to certain emotions, and so you're actually projecting a potent version of that emotion at them, one that's stronger than the one they're feeling in the person.
Okay, so because they're parasites, so you just change their focus to other thing that they can feed on, no? Uh-oh. Hello. 1, 2, 3. Oh my god. Perdimos otra vez a Meta. Nos estaba contando de cómo quitar entidades negativas. A ver, ahí va otra vez. Esperen un segundito. Lo perdimos otra vez. Algo está pasando. Me están haciendo muchas buenas preguntas. Muchas gracias. Las voy a ir anotando para cuando regrese Meta ahorita preguntarle qué onda. A ver, ahí va otra vez. 1, 2, 3. No, algo está pasando, señores. Algo está pasando. No estamos pudiendo conectar con Meta. ¿Pero por qué es esto? Se ve nuestro... Debe verse nuestro video. A ver. Gracias amigos. Gracias por su paciencia. Ahora mismo vamos a volver a llamar a Meta. Porque nos quedamos en una parte muy interesante. Estuvimos hablando, si se pudieron, de alta magia, del árbol de la vida. Estuvimos hablando sobre tarot. Dios mío, ¿por qué no se puede? Señores, esto parece que se está acabando. No estoy pudiendo conectar con Meta. Y estamos en una parte muy buena. A ver, voy a esperar un ratito. ¿Sabes qué? Les voy a decir un resumen. Básicamente estuvimos hablando sobre su tercer punto nodal, como sabrán, tuvo 3 puntos nodales en la línea de tiempo de meta, y hablamos del segundo punto nodal cuando se encontró con el capitán. Y de ahorita finalmente nos pudo hablar del tercer punto nodal, que es algo que tenía, bueno, era clasificado hasta recientemente. A ver, ya regresó esto. Vamos a ver si se puede otra vez. Ahí va. La tercera es la vencida, chicos. Esperemos.
Hey,
Hello.
can you hear me?
Yeah, what happened?
I don't know. I couldn't figure it out.
Oh. Well, we're back. We're back. And people are starting to make questions. So let's see if I can catch them. Let's see. Someone here is asking for recommendations for reading materials.
One of my favorite books of all time was Be Here Now, Be Now Here. There's one called the Crystal Sutra that I really liked. Wilhelm Reich actually wrote a lot of very useful information, scientific and otherwise, about light therapy and orgonite. Definitely recommend getting into those types of things. I Ching, books on the I Ching are wonderful books. I've read the Kama Sutra. I recommend that book. Let's see, obviously Modern Magic. And then I'm very eclectic, so I also like the Earth Magics a whole lot. And so I spent a lot of time in books that allowed you to summon and speak to fairies and leprechauns, and also Earth Magic as in using herbs and different things of that sort to accomplish your magical desires, if you will. And, pouches and talismans, just, I like imbuing.
Hello. Okay. Hello.
We're back again.
Okay, I'm using my neighbor's Wi-Fi as an emergency now. Because my Wi-Fi is so bad, I can't connect.
I can remember where I was going now.
What?
Yeah, I can remember where I was going with that now.
Oh yes, we were in your third nodal point, and you said that the version of you that went up there. What happened?
Oh, well, basically when I got in contact with my oversoul, I was able to reconnect with me that stayed with the light beings. And that's when I came to realize what the whole purpose of it was for, is its reference to protect the central timeline. The me that was returned was on this central timeline, and all the me's that stayed were on positive that those reference points allowed them to have sort of a measurement not only of which way the central timeline was going, but also a way to prevent it from fully collapsing and a way to rebuild it if it was ever to try and collapse. And I also know that I'm not the only one, that I'm not the only time traveling portal guy that has had experiences in that respect. They've done it with a lot of us that are multidimensional enough to have communicated with our multidimensional selves. And they use these all as reference points to keep the central timeline like on its directive course, moving forward in the right ways. And they use it. They use these points of reference along the multidimensional scale to see what doesn't work and what does work before they ever even have to try it in the central timeline. And so, in that respect, it really does give us a good safety net.
And is there a reason why you couldn't?
Still there?
Yeah. Is there a reason why you couldn't disclose this earlier?
Oh, why couldn't I disclose it earlier? Well, because I was worried that exposing the fact that I put suits through portals might tip off the wrong people to go looking for those portals.
Oh.
That's changed since then, so it doesn't matter. Also, I was worried that me divulging the multi-dimensional aspect of me it could allow the Cabal and other groups to try and throw a monkey wrench in that. But since then, I've received confirmation that I don't have to worry about that because there's plenty of other ones. I'm not the only one. And then also that the suits that I had placed into the dark and the light portals had been retrieved, and that there was no way someone could get a hold of them that wasn't supposed to. So.
But now it's safe. Then.
Those were the two reasons why I was waiting.
Something has changed for the better.
Yeah. That makes sense, right?
Yeah. Now, give me a minute. I'm gonna. Okay, let's see if I can talk with Meta now. And we're back up again. We're transmitting at plus 2,000 kilobytes per second now, and I hope we're not interrupted again.
Yeah, it seems like it's working out pretty good. It's done a lot better now.
Cool.
But yeah, did you get all that about why I was able to disclose the third nodal now?
Yes, thank you. And now people should be wondering, what is this first nodal all about?
Yeah, and that one is still a mess. In fact, I had to go back and readjust it recently. And so it's still not ready for disclosure. I did a test run to see if it was ready for disclosure, and it caused all sorts of problems. I had to go back and put it the way it was before, the way I'd set it in the first place to protect it. And so, nope, it's not ready yet, guys. I'm sorry. It's still too close to home, too sensitive, and it really does put me on Front Street with the bad guys. So I'm just gonna lay off at the first nodal point for a while still. Hopefully by mid-March I'll be able to talk about it. That's my hope. That's what I'm aiming for. But until then, until the light network gets fully functional, until we got Thor's hammer up there, I think it's best for me to hold off of that one.
Okay, cool. Okay, now let's go back to Earth a little bit. We were rather expansive in this interview, talking about all sorts of metaphysical stuff, but I wanted to check on you guys on the US and what's your perspective on what's going on there geopolitically?
Geopolitically, it's just a hot mess. Deep states and mild death throes and just trying to pump out as many false flag tragedies as quickly as possible. And always makes you wonder what you're missing behind the scenes. And they came out with another Russian indictment today, which has to do with supposed Russian trolls. And somehow this is indictable. I don't understand how someone in the world voicing their opinion could be considered an indictable offense, but apparently the deep state has managed to make it an offense.
Yeah, what's that all about the Russia, like everything?
Yeah.
It's Russia.
Yes, and the reality is that I personally feel like it's more of a DNC thing. They did make some deals with Russia, and then also on top of that, they've got a strong narcissistic tendency to always accuse everyone else of doing what they're doing, and so that's probably a big part of it. Other than that, it just feels like they're grasping at straws. You know what I mean? We've seen other things too. We've seen a ramp up of more attacks in Syria again. We had the Russians, and we had the Americans attack and kill like 100 Russians, or something like that. Blow up some Russian convoy or something, which we know Russia's been invited in by Syria, and then they killed 100 Syrian soldiers, I believe, and claimed self-defense somehow in a foreign country. All of that makes no sense. Of course, Israel's sent some planes over there, and one of them got shot down. So I mean, that's all going on while our local national politics is going crazy about more gun laws and being completely blind to the fact that they are most probably false flags. So it's just a big old mess. It's a big old hot mess right now. And, those who haven't woken up yet are getting the brunt of it. I personally have learned over a long period of time, after debunking 4 or 5 different false flag tragedies, that anytime you've got a live action drill before an actual event, it's almost definitely a false flag. Whether or not people actually died is, still important to me, but once you realize it's a false flag and it was created by a deep state or a shadow government to push a certain agenda, it loses a lot of its meaning to me. Let's see, other than that, QAnon pushed the pharmaceutical agenda into the forefront, sent a message to the pharmaceutical controllers, I guess, and then we had that letter with the white powder show up at the White House a day or two afterwards. So that's definitely the message that was sent back to the president on that one, and then I think QAnon said that there would be repercussions for that. And the most recent thing from QAnon would be the Pale Horse book from the 1990s, I think 96, talking more about the learned elders of Zion's agenda and how they planned to progress it in America. And that's just stuff that everybody needs to know. Those are the signs that we need to know about, the things to resist. I believe QAnon posted all of the learned elders of Zion's rules, which I had probably read about 4 years ago. But it's definitely something that I recommend everybody go through at least once so they know what their agenda is and in what way they plan on achieving it.
Yes, because some of the things that they have planned, well, they have managed to do, like to put up a global spy network and so on. And, that gets people really impatient. Many people on the boards on 4chan and 8chan are calling for mass arrests. And
Oh, yeah.
I mean, what do you even say to these people? Like, I also want arrests to happen now.
Well, I certainly want arrests to happen very soon. And it seems like from perspective from the channels I'm listening to, there are going to be arrests that happen, whether or not that's everyone or a politically motivated, just half of the bad guys. We won't know until it happens. But we'll say we've seen resignations and people getting in serious trouble for sexual misconduct and so on from both sides of the aisle lately. Whether or not that is the monster eating itself or not, I don't know. You know what I mean? But, or if it's truly an attempt to, quote unquote, drain the swamp, we'll see. I have to say that I think that they might be, and I can't say for sure until it happens, might be doing a good job of draining the swamp. But I have to say I'm rather not impressed with certain things about Trump also. The Zionist lackey side of Trump is not very appealing to me, for sure. He definitely has a hard-on for Israel, and we all know how evil Israel can be. Not that I'm anti-Semitic. I love Jewish people. I have taught Jewish children. I have flown with Jewish children across the country and watched them for months. Definitely love Jewish families. I've been to bar mitzvahs and bat mitzvahs, but I really don't like Zionists.
Yeah, me neither. I'm actually Jewish too.
Yeah. And I love Jewish people, but I don't like anybody who thinks that they're superior to everyone else because of because they believe in a certain God. I believe in equality, even in religion.
Yeah.
And that's the belief that leads to a lot of this destruction that we see, is that one group believes they're superior to another group, and therefore they can treat them like animals, and you get these types of huge human rights violations.
Yeah, no, that's definitely a lot of Cabal influence and a lot of Jesuit influence in Israel. And actually, one of our listeners now is asking if you can confirm somehow the Jesuit and Illuminati role in the Cabal manipulation. That's what he asks.
Well, I personally believe that the original money manipulation came from the old Babylonian money magic system, which was a very long time ago, Mount Zion stuff, back when the original learned elders of Zion wrote the original text. That's how far back it goes. Now, as far as that goes, I have to say that it was probably implemented by negative ancient alien races and taught to them, and then they ran with it. And it's probably been overseen by negative alien races ever since. Now, I'm one of these people that thinks that there's more than just two factions. I mean, there have to at least be three factions. You got your Jesuits, you've you've got the cabal, you've got the Khazarians, and if you're one of those people that believes in it, you've got the Illuminati also. So you've got 3 to 4 different negative groups fighting each other, and those are only the ones we know about. That doesn't even count organized crime and negative dragon factions and everything else. So, I mean, as far as it goes, I don't know which one is, I couldn't tell you right now who's fighting who. But the best part is that they're more focused on each other right now than they are on us, it seems. That literally for the last month and a half, they've been more focused on each other. And just recently has one of them decided it's now time to start dropping some more false flags, move ahead with the Zionist agenda. And so I guess that means that the Jesuits and the Zionists have decided to kind of make some peace and work together. Honestly, at the pace they're moving, it shows that they know they're almost out of time. I mean, you just look at how many they're having to push so quickly. They expected to have 30, 40 more years before this was all going to happen. And it's not turning out to be that way. It's turning out to be a lot sooner than they thought.
Yeah, no, it feels like their demise is right around the corner, but I think one of the problems is that they believe that they have to be maybe like completely annihilated before coming back from the ashes, or that's a theory that I think David Wilcock had, that they thought that they had to be defeated in order for them to to triumph.
Right. And there's different ways of looking at that. That's that prophecy of theirs, right? But the reality, they have this weird, like, they acknowledge that prophecy is created by your perception of it, and that they're self-fulfilling, but yet they still fervently believe in it, And I believe that's the Khazarian side that believes that they have to be defeated. Isn't that the Khazarian side that believes that?
Yeah, maybe because it's maybe it's written in the Bible or something. So yeah, it could be them.
It could be them, but then again, the Jesuits also wrote the Bible pretty extensively. But see, I mean, I don't know if the Jesuits hold themselves at all to those books. I think they kind of consider themselves above all those religious books. I don't think that. I think that's a safeguard for them more than anything. That even if we're defeated, we'll rise from the ashes. It's a good old prophecy that says that they can be brought back from the dead. You know what I mean? That they will survive even if they've been crushed. Whether or not that's true, they're probably prepared for it.
Yeah, and on that note, I heard a good question David Wilcock doing to another SSP insider, and I thought I ask that to you. What do you think is the Cabal's weakness? What are their weaknesses?
Well, their weakness is everybody waking up and unifying against them. I mean, that's their weakness. That's why we keep getting all these divisive things happening. That's why they keep throwing these school shootings and, racial divisive stories and, all of these other things in the mix all the time. The LGBTQ stuff and, all of this is divisive politics meant to keep us separated. Keep us in little boxes. Facebook has changed their algorithm recently to what they like to call the happy bubble algorithm, which means that we have no one in our on our feed that disagrees with us for the most part. And that's meant to keep us shielded and separated and not waking each other up. Yeah, that's their biggest weakness is all of us coming together and standing up for our rights and not falling for these agendas that that they're using to eventually try and take away all of our freedoms.
Okay. Now, the same reader from last question is asking if you have physical evidence to prove the SSP experience.
I do not. Only the images in my mind. If I could make you a video of the images in my mind, I would make one. But other than that, I don't have anything.
Okay, it's okay. Wow, now, yeah, I mean, at some point, I bet there's someone who's gonna come up with something, because disclosure has to also bring some proof to everyone, because we're not gonna just believe stuff like that. I mean, I think there has to be evidence at some point.
There will have to be evidence, and I think you're probably going to see most of that evidence occur after the event, unfortunately. They just do not want it getting out ahead of time. And, I mean, you even see it in things like there was Patient 16 or something on Netflix with the guy who got a implant taken out of his leg. And the guy who took it out of his leg disappeared, and the implant disappeared. And I mean, they had the implant on video. They had the implant on video being taken out of his leg. Well, the implant disappeared, and so did the guy who was testing it. And, after they had run enough tests on it, though, to prove that it was definitely not, just a scrap of metal. That it had many complex rare earth metals, and it just all disappeared. There was some guy who I was watching a recent Corey Goody, David Wilcox show that they were interviewing there that had these little discs that just held terabytes and terabytes and terabytes of information. And he had a couple, and of course they went missing. I'd have to say that they're pretty much on top of that stuff. No, I mean, there's some things that have hit mainstream media, like the metal that they recovered that reforms to its original shape over and over again. Like, that's hit mainstream media. They've even taken it around and shown it to people.
Great.
And, I mean, I'd be hard-pressed to just pull that video up offhand, but I can tell you there have been examples of mild disclosure out there for a while now. Like the special they did on cloning from pig's bladder back in the early 2000s, late 90s, where they used pig bladder, and the scientist's father regrew his finger that he had cut off with a remote control helicopter. And I mean, that was in the early 2000s, late 90s. We're just supposed to assume that it didn't progress at all since then. And I mean, that's like Discovery Channel stuff. That's not even on the disclosure market like what we're doing. And even in the show they said, oh, well, we're going to have to stop here because it really gets into some moral questions,
Mm-hmm.
And the interviewer's like, oh yeah, I guess it would. I mean, what they're telling you there, tongue in cheek, is, we could clone whole people now. Moral questions. Yeah, like, you mean clone a whole person? Yeah. That's the moral question.
Whoa.
Do you own the person you cloned, or is that cloned person that you cloned its own autonomous being? So on and so forth.
Yeah, no, we might need some time to adjust to all these new technologies that are coming.
Yeah, technologies, I just think that we should just go. I mean, honestly, there are certain technologies we should black book. And I've seen a lot of very dark technologies working for Dark Fleet. And there's things I don't even want to put into the public arena on how disgustingly gross and dark they are. But yeah, there's certain technology like I don't think we should be cloning people, honestly. I think it's a very destructive, messy business. I mean, maybe if you were gonna like the way activated carbon is, where you can make a clone and transfer your soul into that body if you're just going to leave your old body behind. You know what I mean? Like, maybe that is as close as you can get to a moral version of cloning. But even then, like in that show, for example, there are so many messed up things that happen, even with that model. People who lose their bodies, getting put into any available human being, you know, just all sorts of messed up things can occur that are completely unfair and unjust to people. And I mean, that's one thing that could happen with the advancement of those technologies, is knowing that you can transfer a soul into a clone body, and you can transfer your soul into a different body. And you know, where do you go from there? What is your identity anymore? You know, just a lot of moral questions.
And that also raises a lot of questions about the legal processing of the cabal and all the negative ones, because the things that they've done are so terrible, and well, they've broken many laws in the planet and galactic laws. We might not even presence civilian trials for these people. They might just go to the central sun directly.
Well, if you know, if Trump's drain the swamp thing occurs, and we do have a MAGA situation where many do get arrested, then I'm guessing that they're probably going to be in a military tribunal type of court for more of an international offense type of situation. And I'd have to think that knowing Trump, he'd probably want to televise it at some point. So if that occurs, we'll probably see some type of run through on the planet before we even get to the point that they'll be taken to Ganymede or somewhere like that and given their choice. If it doesn't happen, it's kind of like Cobra said, the arrest either will or will not happen. You know what I mean? It's too much up in the air to tell you right now what's going on. The recent push of false flags is either, you know, the deep state in death row, or trying to bargain for its freedom because it couldn't make a deal, you know.
Yeah, I was wondering what that might mean, that the cabal arrests might or might not happen. That was rather cryptical.
Yeah, I think what that means is that, well, they're in the middle of a struggle, and only one of them has a knife, and whoever ends up getting stabbed, you know what I mean? I mean, honestly, the POTUS situation and Q seem to be on the same page to a certain degree, and they seem to be trying to drain the swamp. if they manage to pull that off and not go down themselves, then people will get arrested. And if they don't manage to pull that off and do go down, then very few will get arrested. And it will be the ones that we're trying to drain the swamp. And so, I mean, that's pretty much, you know, what we're looking at right now is who's going to win. You know, it's just that the whole, you know, a dragnet large enough to collect them all ain't easy to set up.
Okay. Now, I didn't want to talk about this actually, but people are continuing to make the question. They're asking a few times, they've asked, because there are rumors around that there's not gonna be any event, that there's only gonna be NESARA, but that's it. And people are asking if the event will happen. So can you just please confirm that the event will happen indeed?
Yeah, the event's going to happen, and we have a really good chance for it to happen through March. It's definitely a very exciting time. If we were to do everything just right, it could definitely happen. And, you know, a lot of that does go back to, here's something people don't realize about the meditations. One of the reasons why exterior forces like the Drax and other negative entities have never just wiped people off the planet is because we have a very specific gene set that a lot of different species want. And within this specific gene set is what is called the meta gene. The meta gene allows us to recreate reality with our minds. Now, that's not very powerful at all when it's just one of us. But when there are, let's say, 144,000 of us, all focused on the same meditative goal, it can really change the world. We have the ability to do that. And that's why we're sought after, and no one wants to kill us. You know what I mean? No one wants to destroy our society, and we're sought after. If we realize together as a populace that we actually have that power to change reality through a mass meditation, and we all focused on doing it, we would see the coming of the event a lot faster. And it would change the events around the world in ways that we couldn't even fathom until after it occurred.
Wow, great, cool. That's a great way to finish the interview. I wanted to finish on a high note, and I think that's a great way to do it. Yes, we need to focus on the meditation and keep our eyes on the goal, you know, because it's so close.
Don't let the disinformation, stay focused on the goal. Exactly.
Perfect. So, well, this was our first season. This was the first season. This was our last interview of the first season. It's been a whole trip. It's been a whole adventure. I've learned in ways that I never thought I would learn. I mean, so thank you so much for all this information and all this sharing that you're sharing with us, Meta.
Well, thank you, sir, for letting me speak about it.